All right. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. All praise is due to Allah for His mercies on us. We ask Him to be our guide and guide in all that we do. Inshallah, on our Halqah tonight, we are looking at an important topic, Islam and early marriage, which I think is of interest to all of us because exactly is going to happen, looking at the way the world is going presently. So inshallah, the first thing we are going to do is to define what early marriage is. After definition, we'll now go to the matters arising with regards to the topic. The first thing is, as far as Islam is concerned, what exactly is early marriage and what are the understanding around early marriage? When we say early marriage, in the context of society, it means somebody married before age 18. If you are considering the question of a CRA, the Child Rights Act, when you marry before age 18, is considered early marriage. But Islam does not stipulate age. So no age requirement when it comes to marriage in Islam. That is wrong. Islam considers puberty as a factor. When you attain puberty, bulugh or kalaf, these are the criteria for everything we do in Islam. Some scholars now try to put the age at 15. They consider maybe men or attain puberty at that age generally. And for females, some consider 9, 10, 11, 12, like that. So, but in some other parlance, the consideration for early marriage, they say that, not Islamic parlance now, that early marriage is when you marry before age 23. Some see that as early marriage. Some say your marriage on time, that is when you marry between age 23 and 27. Others see late marriage as when you marry from above 27 as late marriage. So tonight, we are looking at these two sides, early marriage and late marriage, inshallah. But when we look at Islam, is there any reference to explain or justify or guide when it comes to the issue of early marriage? Of course, Islam has several references of marriage in Surah An-Nisa, in many other parts of the Quran, where Allah talks of marriage, and in the many hadiths of the Prophet Ahadith, he talks of marriage. For example, there's a verse in Surah Al-Talaq where Allah says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, wallahi ya'isna min al-mahid min nisa'ikum in irtabtum fa'iddatuhunna thalathatu ashhuri wallahi lam yahidin." In Surah Al-Talaq. In this verse, Allah is making reference that as for women who have, stopped menstruating in a way, there's a way to calculate their iddah period. Wallahi lam yahidna. And as for those who are not yet menstruating, who are not yet having menstrual period, in the tafsir, they said that by so doing, Allah makes a reference to as-saghirat, young people, zawajan wa talaqan wa iddah. By that, it means, because talking of talaq, they could be married, they could be divorced, and they could may have to go through iddah. So that verse in the tafsir refers to early marriage. Secondly, also, we going to have another verse in Surah An-Nisa, verse 4, where Allah says, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَلَّا تُقْسِطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى فَانكِحُوا مَا طَبَ لَكُم مِنَ النِّسَاءِ مَثْنَى وَثُلَاثَ رُبَاعًا. That very one, our mother Aisha radiallahu anha has said in the tafsir that the yatama here refers to orphans, young girls. That some men then who had some young girls who were in their custody, who share their accommodation, share their things, so they may fall in love with such girls. Islam now guides that you can't just fall in love with them. You must ensure that you do the needful, pay their mahar, their dowry, their nuptial gift, you give them and follow the right course. That one too was a reference to young people there, according to Tafsir, according to Aisha. And that reference was the one that, hello? And that reference was one whereby that it was said that even that it was found that here so just the same reference that young orphans living with some people, that they have to follow procedure before they can talk of marrying them. So from all these, we see that it's a case of what? Early marriage. Then Aisha herself now said that tazawwajani Nabiyyi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ana binatu sit. In Sahih Bukhari, that Aisha said that in Bukhari and Muslim that I was 6 when I was betrothed to the Prophet. Wa bana bi wa ana binatu sit. When I was 9, he now married me. So that was another reference scholars use to refer to early marriage in Islam. Now, I will say that, my dear listeners, we now realize that before coming back to the issue of early marriage, the concept of marriage in Islam itself, we realize that it's in place, a kind of pairing, because marriage is not just one person, it's somebody else to join you. Someone else is a pairing, natural pairing Allah himself has put in place for continuity of human every living existence. Second is that in Islam, when you talk about marriage, it is about dignity. Nikah is about dignity. That's why it has to do with mutual respect, consent. You're being a noble person. It's being noble that you go into marriage. You respect that process, but not just a kind of going to fornication or things like that. So it's a nobility to go into marriage. Then also, it's a peculiarity of Islam that there are several rulings on marriage. There's a ruling on celibacy in Islam, no celibacy, the conditions for marriage, the ethics, the prohibitions, the rights, divorce, simplicity, inheritance, and even inheritance has to do with marriage too, because husband can inherit the wife can inherit the husband too. Then we have adabul firosh. What are the ethics when it comes to having sexual intercourse? So when we follow the procedure of Islam, it will create tranquility and harmony. Second, it will provide physical and emotional fulfillment. Thirdly, it will promote mutual love and respect. And of course, it will make them to share, to care, assist themselves, avoid sins, fulfill their sexual desires, and preserve humanity. Islam encourages that, okay, you marry those who are near, in terms of maybe not too distant, and the parents to equally monitor in a way too. Looking at the companions, we realize they're marrying the kind of close circle that you can see this very companion marrying the daughter of another companion, male or elderly or young. Another person might be the widow of the other one. So it was a very close that it helped them to sustain and stabilize Yeah, but modern marriages, you realize that somebody can marry from here, from Maiduguri, from Kano, from UK, and you see that those those gaps or distances have their own aspect too. Now, current marriages, do know that we're talking about early marriages. I've just given of Islamic marriages the concept, just in brief. But the current marriages that we have today, what do we see? One, we see premarital and extramarital sex being common. Why is it so? That people, if marriage is so easy, why is premarital sex becoming rampant? It's a question one has to answer. Second, we now start to see child outside wedlock. We start to hear about unwanted pregnancy. We ask, why all this? Where are they coming from? Why? What is causing all this one too? The questions are being asked. Now, when we go further, outside this very one, we clearly see that again, marriages today, we say element of flamboyance there, whereby you see some people, because of the flamboyance, the extravagance, the elegance they want to attain, they will not be able to do it on time. So that one too is a factor that affects the marriages, that somebody wants to marry cannot just marry on time because he has to get a lot of money to put some things in place. The husband to be has his own plan, things he wants to have before he goes to marriage. The wife to be has her own the taste she wants to have. The parents to have what they expect from them to have. Society has expectation from them. So this one at times delay. This is the current things we face in marriages today. So then, and this one will tell on early marriage because priority has changed. Then pattern and modality of how they are done today is another thing entirely. Then also, we realize that these days, one day expedition, versus income, they are not at par. Somebody is earning maybe 200K or 150K in a month, and they wants to organize a 7, 8, 10 million wedding. So you cannot calculate how it's going to, for how long we will save the money, or if he has not saved the money, wants to borrow it, for how many months or years he's going to pay back. Bearing in mind that where you are married, your expenses will be increasing and be continuing. Let's say you got married, the wife is pregnant after some months or whatever the case, then you have to take care of that, and you are still paying the debt, and you have no other sources, other means of income. For an average person, definitely is going to be an issue that will have to be looked into. Then also, we see delayed marriages because people feel that for reasons best known to them and for other factors we face today in our society. Then also courtships and court corners. So what they want, they have agreed to marry each other. They've done the khitbah, proposal has been done, others have been done. Just for now, we can't marry now. Why can't you marry now? I have to put some things in place. What are you putting in place? Accommodation, the house, as the guy, maybe TV set, the furnishing, the furniture, the freezer, the washing machine, things. So we can now realize that all these things push us to now have late marriages. Having said that, we have some matters today that happen in preparing for these marriages. What do we see for us? The first thing we observe is that in going about these marriages, past nations, early marriage was prevalent from records. Earlier than now, we have them, they are prevalent, and then too, from readings, about 100 years ago, 100 years, that was when there was this invention of adolescent and the like. Before, it was basically young and old. But when the type of education we have now began to they started, they used to classify and categorize. They will now start to have what they call the adolescent, the teenager, the whatever now. So before, it was either you were young or you were old. That was that. During Shakespeare time, is by Shakespeare's writing too, a lady who was still single at 13 was considered as marrying late in those eras. And of course, during Prophet's time, we had it that a boy of 18 led the war, meaning that at that very time he has become responsible, and of course, we learned that he married to the Zafaran Zaid and many other factors that I read, for example, in state of California, for example, they said until 1889, the legal age for sexual intercourse was 10 years. Then it became 14 years. Then it became 16 years, 1887. In 1913, became 18 years again. So instead of New Mexico also, it was 13 years. Later, 14 years, Mississippi, and many other places. So you realize that within even a country, the thing was changing, 13, 14, 15, 16, like that, based on several factors, which of course were there. So that was that. So beside that one now, as we see today, there are benefits of early marriage. There are benefits of early marriage. There are factors militating early marriage. There are benefits of late marriage. There are many factors against late marriage. The factors against late marriage are factors that promote early marriage. The first point, Prophet Salam in the Hadith, we read where he said that, Ya Mashara Shabab, oh you group of youths, you council of youths, you groups of youth. He said, Ya Mashara Shababi, O youths, man istata'a minkum al-ba'a falyatazawwaj. Whoever amongst you can get married, let him get married. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ is the best for his eyes to be lowered properly, وَأَحْسَنُ لِلْفَرْجِ for him to safeguard his private parts. Whoever cannot get married at useful time, let him be fasting. It's a kind of shield for you to save you from that very one. From the Hadith, scholars say that we have what they call tabkiru bizawaj. هذا حديث يدل على تبكير bizawaj. That the Hadith is making us to marry as youths on time. Islam recognizes that because the useful time is the most turbulent time, is a stage of storm and stress. That's where you have the predominance of what do you call it now? Fornication, of things like that. That is number one. And this makes reference you should get married. Two, when you marry very early, is the most effective way of meeting sexual demands while avoiding diseases associated with them. So when a youth gets married, that's the most active time. You can't compare a youth that marries when he's 17, 16, 18, 20 to the one that's just marrying when he's 40 or 50. They can't be the same. So this useful time, it will make them to have to meet all their sexual demands. Three is that when one marries early, it's allowed to maintain a sense of security. It's such that parents can be sure their daughters will not be, pushing around and doing those funny things that are moral or immoral, because they are sure, okay, when they get married on time, it will reduce all these pastime and fornication as pastime we have today. And of course, again, it will allow for self-satisfaction and dignity when they marry very early. And it's a moral barrier. It allows men and women to lower their gaze naturally. Marriage is the most acceptable option when you are youthful and you are having that very push to enjoy sex. So when they marry at that stage, it solves that problem once and for all. Then there's a mental focus. They need to pursue the highest level of education. When they are married, there's no point, there's no distraction. That's the ideal when people get married at that very stage. Then early marriage, they are more beloved as youths, that's very enjoyment they will have, and of course, is to make them have sense of responsibility very early. These are some of the benefits one starts to gain when one gets married early. But now what happens? There's some factors today that people look at that, don't try it. Things have changed. That's one you're talking about. That was the era of maybe the prophet and early people. But let's look at it this way. The first thing you observe is that factor one is our educational program today. The way it was designed, crafted, you realize that most of your productive years, you spend them in school. They program them that you have to finish the first phase by 18 years, your secondary education. Then you now move to higher institutions. They make you believe that because you must have first class, must have 2-1, you must not fail, you have many things to do. They program you just one course. Then you enter again for the next 4 or 5 years. Then you are almost what old? Then you are 20, 23 years. And then why not go for your master's? Go for your PhD before you know you are 25 years. You know, see many youths today, they are 25, they are 26, 27, and they have not got married. It's an issue for society. Because when we talk of immorality, for all those happening today, these are factors. So are there no other ways by which we can redesign our education such that even it will not affect will not affect one's being corrupted morally? That is number one. Education is today seen as a reason why a girl or a boy should not get married on time, even when we all know that as youth, we are affected. That is number one. Two is that because we have delayed marriage, we push it forward. There are now improvisations or alternatives to enjoying sexual pleasure. That's why God's cycle has become permissive. They have fornication, different sexual deviations, and for sexual gratification, as if all is well. Every youth is enjoying himself in his own way. Like a musician said, everybody just doing it, fulfilling it in a way. Unless for those who are spiritually conscious, that just feel that no, like a Korobuzina, they try to avoid it. But most youths, they enjoy this one in different ways. That is one. Three is that economic factor. And if you want to get married now, you are still in school, they are being sponsored. If I think you have even finished school again, you have not got job. You have not got job, you have not got money for accommodation, you have not this and that. That one too, they will tell you the profile of things you have not got, they will draw it for you. That one too will push you back, you bother yourself to go into it. It's a factor today we face when it comes to early marriage also. Also, we have parental overrule. Some parents don't want to don't even mention anything like marriage at all. They will not even do, they will just consent. It's not possible. No, go and do your masters first. Go on, do your PhD. They just tell you that they don't know what you are going through. They don't want to know, but they believe that during their own time they're able to cope. This time they were quoting, things were not as worse as it is today. Yes, that's the reality. 50, 70 years ago, society was not as bad as this. It was not as raw as this. But they don't want to look at the dynamics that have come over man today. They still want to use the dynamics of 100 years, 70 years ago to rule children of today. In fact, if there should marriage early marriage in any way, it should more needed now than any other time to protect our youth from moral confusion, diffusion, crises, challenges, and comatose they are falling into. That is the factor, parental factor, they are a social status. Some just believe you are too young to marry now. Why should you do that? Some parents just feel that you are afraid their status. The children just feel that no, I'm too young. Some just feel that I'm too young to marry. Whereas in Islam, talking of marriage, it's not about the age, but it's about the maturity that you need to cope with marriage. Then some, they don't want to marry early because of what people will say. Why you are young, you are married now, and you are too young to get married. So what they will say is what influences them. Then also, we have some who just make personal resolution and plan that as far as I'm concerned, I will finish my first degree by age 23, go for my master's, Oh, then my masters, I'll travel abroad, I'll do this, I'll do that. When I'm now 27, 29, or some people say 30, 35, they say they will get married. That one too is a factor there. The last one I'll mention here was that maturity and childlessness. Some actually, they can't go to marriage very early because of maturity. They can't just cope with it. So those are some of the factors that are put forward as, things that should not make one go into early marriage. But when you weigh them beside the gains of early marriage, you realize that those factors we can work around them to have a peaceful society. Now, late marriage, when you marry above 27, above 28, 29, it has benefits. For example, some believe when you marry very late, you enjoy good mental health because then you are more responsible, you are more matured, you are more experienced, you have confusion of what to do here and there. Young people, when they get married, they believe they have more crisis. That may not be true scientifically. Then two, time for personal growth. They believe if I don't marry on time, I'll be able to develop myself, do my PhD, do my master, do that, do my plan, get my own house, get my own land. They believe it's okay like that. Personal growth, your career, your profession, and so on and so forth. That's one of the benefits they believe is good for late marriage. Some believe also that when you marry late, you enjoy marital stability and adjustment. So because of maturity, they believe, but it's not always the case because some who marry late today, some even within a month, 2 months, they've divorced their wife. So why is it not happening that way? You need statistics to prove that very one too. Education and career opportunities, they believe if you marry now, it will tie you down. You're able to achieve what you want to achieve. Some believe that very one. Some believe childbearing may not be favorable to you. Going have a woman, for example, especially a woman, for example, now, when she's pregnant, she can't enjoy academics on or career progression may be affected. That's another evidence for late marriage. Some the number because some believe because number of women in places of in education and other work environment is not really available. So if you now go and talk of marriage now, then it will affect the chance you have to go into marriages. Some now come more with what they call 3 paradoxes of late marriage. The first one is that they believe that late marriage helps to test run. So when you do late marriage, you'll have enough time to have test run many girls, many ladies. You'll have known how it was done. You'll have been trained how to do it. When I get married later, you'll have been stable. That's the paradox of late marriage. Some being sowing the white oats, whereby some young adults believe that the time for them is to experiment sexually, eat, drink, and be merry like that. Some believe that's another thing they will gain. The first one is says drive. They kind of to just how it looks like. This one to enjoy and relax yourself. That one is the older is better. They believe both husband and wife will have become more mature. Then the good spouses. These are theories that doesn't always work as people think so. But now, do you know that late marriage has a lot of consequences as we are facing today? The first one is that it threatens family system because there's adultery is on the increase. People want to just enjoy their sexual cravings. They want to become insatiable with it. And, of course, that is happening. That's why you see most ladies at times, some ladies at times before they go to marriage, they'll have experienced sex and enjoy it in a way. And by so doing, even some are even they're into marital home, they are still doing extramarital sex. And that is a threat to what? Family system. It's a consequence of late marriage. That is one angle. Second angle is that delaying young men's and women's weddings waste a lot of creative energies. Because when they get married, there's a way they be potentially useful, where they will think, because when you get married, you're responsible. You start on time to know how to manage your home, manage your wife, manage your resources, manage your children. They just make it to be free for a long time. That you start to think like an organized person on time. When you get married, it conditions you to be responsible. But when they delay it for you, you pick up everyone on time. Then also, there's fertility is declining with the age of female, which we'll mention shortly too, scientifically. Then they believe some people, again, when you delay marriage, they could lose chance to get offspring based on some statistics that were given or some scientific realities. Then some believe that when marriage is delayed, there will be generation gap between children and parents. Parents can be maybe but the distance can be 15, 20, 30 years between the father and the children. So, and again, there are attendant evils to late marriage. Dating for some people, Valentine's celebration, master, those people will just be doing because they've not actually had a chance to enjoy sex on a normal ground. But there are other health issues attached to late marriage. One is, it is established that there's a decline in birth rates. Decline in birth rate because there's a delay in childbearing. A study published in Human Reproduction says that a woman's fertility begins decreasing as early as her late 20s and not in her 30s as was previously believed. December Karama 2016. That's a head angle to it now. Also, they said many women's ovarian responsiveness drive into the zone. And as this decline develops, women have less possibility of becoming pregnant, according to McHaney and Spring 2021. Besides that, again, he said that because women delay their marriage, this decreases their fertile years and endeavors at birth may become difficult. They continue that today, the median age of first marriages for women is over 28 years. If that is the case, the median age of first marriage represents that half of all women get married for the first time when even more aged, with many not accepting pregnancy until well or after 30 years. If that's the case, if fertility starts to decrease in women's at their 20s, the possibility of getting pregnant might be more difficult in their almost 30s than in their 20s. We're told also that when around the world have fewer babies compared to their old generation, that the women around the world have fewer babies compared to their older generations then. For this reason, the childbearing rate is decreasing worldwide, which is a major factor decline of population. That is the earth angle to late marriage. Then we have abnormality in children and difficult pregnancy when you delay marriages also. Even if the woman can give birth, sometimes these births result in children having mental problems. On the other hand, sperm loses its vitality, which can direct many abnormalities in children. An older mother might face some risks during her pregnancies. For example, miscarriage, birth defects, high blood pressure, gestational diabetes, difficult labor. Some studies indicate that although there's a risk of pregnancy issues in older women over 30, their babies might not have more problems than babies of younger women. These are many other factors they mentioned as regards this issue of marrying late. And there are other risks when it comes to the issue of HIV and things like that in late marriages, which of course is not our focus for now per se. So we can now see that even late marriages has its own demerits that affects many things. So based on that now, my dear listeners, in drawing our conclusion tonight, we realize that as for late marriage, there are some basic negatives. One is baby loss, difficult pregnancy, decreasing menopausal time coming down, then risk of HIV, abnormality in children, decreased population, and so on and so forth. So when we now go back to early marriage, you will realize that the negatives, the merits of late marriage are positives for early marriage. The merits in late marriage are more than that of early marriage. But what do we do now? Are we saying that every young girl there, 10, 11 years, to get married, that any 10, 7, 8 years? No, that's not what we are saying. We just try to put up a thesis that the factor we have mentioned earlier that makes us delay marriage are self-created. They were not there before. And when they were not there before, society was a bit better than it is today. Today's society, there's a rising immorality caused by late marriage, and it's happening everywhere. Different sexual deviations, children sexual unexpected things are happening today because we have those things delayed. Economic factors and things are now put forward as reasons. So that one is an angle that we have to look into. Then marrying early will require plan. Not just you just say, okay, you have had a lecture, we have read a book. No, it requires plans. So we can't treat everybody the same way, but it's the way to go. But not everybody can go that way, the way things are going now, the way things are rolled out, the way education is planned. But it's an area that we have to look into. Parents now, based on the kind of children they have, the kind of challenges they face, have to look at each one based on its merit. Parents should have to review their stand position, that a child who feels that he or she doesn't want to fornicate, involve in moralities, and she feels she wants to marry. Proposal is made in a book called Tahrir al-Mar'a fi Asri Risala. There's a book called by Abu Shakka, that parents could have a kind of understanding that, okay, this is our daughter, our boy, instead of committing fornication, because when you die, you go to Allah. First class is not a criterion for Jannah at all. Whether you are prosperous, you are poor, you are rich, they are not criteria for you to enter Jannah. But when a girl becomes immoral or a boy becomes immoral, is it can mar his agenda. So parents have to have listening ears to their children. They have to understand in a peculiar case, even someone that will be medically, advised that it's better to get married. Parents have to soft pedal and assist such children. It can be in school. Why you assist them? Then for them to be evolving in evil is a model that parents can look at. Our children, we should not involve in because of what benefit? Like Al-Khawarizmi mentioned somewhere, talking of theory of morality, he said moral is one. If you have moral, is one. You have chastity, you have modesty, you are truthful, you are honest, you are chaste. He said it's one. When you have first class, is zero. When you have money, is zero. So if you now add the 20 to one, that's 100. You have a house, is zero, that's 1,000. If you have whatever you possess in life, they are 0, 0, 0, 0. So, but it says if you have many zeros, maybe like 10 or 20 zeros to your one, you now don't have that, you remove the one from the zeros, become zero. That means you lose morality, you lose everything. So we have to look at the angle of morality by making arrangements on how parents from both the boy and the girl can make arrangements. How do we help our children when they go to school, giving them stipends, assisting them when they also finish their education? Just few years, they are good to go, and they have become moral elements and to make them even stronger. That's an angle that we can look at the issue. So I want to believe that most of us today in high institutions today, we are not the same feeling. Some by nature, they don't have any problem. They can finish their education, they can do their masters, they don't have anything that will bother their mind. But some are they're just managing to cope because some are just doing other things, funny things, secret deals that parents will never know. You think all is not well with most youths, but parents don't want to know. So we need to look at that angle and be sure the children are doing fine morally, spiritually, not just assuming that you can just, want hard on them. We pray to Allah in His infinite majesty to forgive our shortcomings and guide us right. So on this one, inshallah, I will stop to take questions that may have been generated in the course of the discussion. I pray that Allah reward everyone for coming. Barakallahu fikum. Jami. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So if you have questions, inshallah, you can ask your questions now. That's the end of the presentation. Barakallahu fikum. Shukran. And raise signify. If you have questions, inshallah, you are free.
Sir. Sir, during the lecture, you said that for early marriage, it requires a lot of plan. So can you mention the plans for us? So what are the things that is needed to be done?
All right, sir. Thank you. So one of the plans is that when once a child, the parents have to key into maybe someone is in year two university now. One is in the year 2 or year 3, and the parent, you feel that the way I see myself, I don't want to commit fornication. I need to get married. Not just something that just kind of it's not just emotional. It is really, you feel that you need that one. So the first plan is to let the child and the parent agree and see the reason. Speak with the parents to be convinced. That's the first one. It's a plan, the agreeing, harmonizing the thought of the child and the parent. Number 2 is do not look at your education. So this is your education. How do it? Because if it's a male, it's easier. If it's a female, it's a different plan. Because female getting married when they are young, age like that, while in school, that's its own implications too. For example, it's a medical student, for example, now, as in year 2, and she gets married before you know she's pregnant. And pregnancy has different way of different angles. So that very one too is go a long way to affect the girl. So that's why you have to look at that very, okay, what do we do? Do we have to involve a form of family planning with that situation because of our peculiarity? Do you have to do some spacing or whatever? What do you have to do? That has to be looked into, expert has to be involved. That's an angle to it. Then 2, maybe those who want to marry now, where do they live? In terms of distance and everything. So somebody is in Sokoto, you are in Lagos, and you say you want to do early marriage, then there'll be a problem. So there have to be kind of adjustment to, where, okay, is it the husband that will go and change his course to go and meet her there, or she has to come down in that course? That one too is another area they have to look into. The other one is that, okay, now, what are your resources? Okay, you have another job you are doing, since you want to marry now, what are your own personal plans? Not just being a parasite alone. So maybe the modern times, there are some things you can be doing to fetch you something. They can now support you with what you are doing. Things like that are some of the areas you have to look at, and then proper counseling, because when both are not fully on ground, they are still in school, it's a different game entirely than just you are married fully and you are doing work and things like that. Okay, the question says, how can a guy know he's ready for marriage? It's a matter of it's psychological. When you just feel that one is, it's not about age per se, it's about maturity. Some people are 15, 17, they are still childish. Those one cannot marry. They just be taking decision for play. So, but if somebody is sound, mentally, and is matured, but he feels that the feeling, his body response to his sexual feeling is strong, that you always feel the urge that you feel like you want to commit fornication, but he's controlling himself, and that thing does not go. He sees counseling, they counsel him, he fasts everything, and if he realizes that it's only disturbing him, it's a sign that just he may need to go into marriage if he cannot control it. But there are times the feeling will come, the urge will come, but some will just come and go. Naturally, when you are mature, the urges, like we mentioned one time, the oxytocin chemical, that's chemical for love, will just come and go. That just between, that's normal. When as a male or a female, I think you just feel like you have a feeling for a male or a female, but it does go. Just come and go. That's normal. But in the case of anything just continuous, you can't just resist again. Just feel like anybody passing you are feeling, then in that case, it's a sign that you may need to really look at yourself and see what you can do. Allah. Shukran. All right. Any other question? Okay. Somebody asked that some people that are ready for marriage but don't have parental support. So that's the area of one. When you are ready and the parents are not ready, the first step is to go before Allah, make your dua for Allah's assistance, soften their hands and to guide you. Number 2 is that you have to engage them, through some other person who can discuss with them. That's what they call lobby strategy. To appeal to them. Maybe you have your plan B on, okay, how the parents now want to get married now. How will you maintain your wife? Where will you live? Then that means in parents that means they're not going to support you financially. Then you have to do your plan B to at least maybe pray to Allah, guide you. Since something can be doing, if your wife can only understand, person wants to marry can understand you. So then those are the things you have to go to the table with them. This is what I want to do, and inshallah, Allah will answer. Because it's one thing your parents may agree, the guest parent may not agree. So it's not just one way. So you have to work on those two areas. Then without very one done, probably Allah may feel that they go ahead, but if they don't still allow you, then you need patience with your parents. You can't just force yourself through them. But with prayers, Allah can just open the doors for you. Allah. Going by controversial issue on social media some months back about the age the Prophet married Aisha. So is there age range in Islam? I mentioned that in Islam, no hadith mentions age range. No hadith anywhere. Even Ali that married, the records, Ali was around 23 years when he got married. Fatima was around there, maybe some said she was above 9, 10, 20 something. This Aisha's case too, some said she was 9, some she was 12. You compare Aisha with Asma and things like that. But the issue is that nowhere was it mentioned that this is the age of marriage. Scholars just discuss the issue of bulugh. When you're mukallaf, that how do you know you're a mature person? That's what they base it on, maturity. So maturity one, the basic one is that when you're a man, you experience wet dream, then you are mature. When you experience wet dream, you can marry. So far you have the wherewithal, you have the capacity of intellectual aspect and physical aspect and so on and so forth. That is number one. If it's a female, she's started having a menstrual experience, that's a major sign. Then we have other factors that shows one is maturity, secondary characteristics, or some use age in some figure. So that's an area there. So there's no age arrangement of when you should marry as far as time is concerned. Just maturity is what they use. So courtship, we have mentioned before that courtship has no place. It has no basis. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it's khitbah you do, and when you are ready, move on. Because the courtship concept is alien to Islam. At the long run, the way to courtship, like I wrote one of my books, Joy of Maker, I try to explain that time along the line, they will just fall into zina. Because when you start to have a relationship and you are not done in marriage, naturally it will be deepening. The more you talk, the more you see yourself, it will be deepening and getting deeper. And it's getting deepening. Natural thing is that that's why people are husband and wife, and the thing will be there. They can easily just less, you know, there's no delay. But now you can't do it because you are not married. So when you're not married now, the options are there that you may, you know, the thing you may be able to resist and you may want to fall into zina. So one should better be ready. And when you are ready, just move into what do you call now? Into marriage immediately. So one should avoid it. But if one has been in courtship, then what one can just do is to now let some people be aware, not just secret deal now. Have a counselor, have a mentor, parents should be aware. Then you now avoid pitfalls. You don't meet, you know, in secret place. You can't be doing anything for you because it's only that's your wife or husband. You avoid that what can draw you closer. They are supposed to just meet in public place and things like that. Because she has a lot of things that can affect somebody. So what's wedding? Wedding is when somebody just sleeps as a man and you emit, you just feel like you're having sex with somebody in sleep and you now emit sperm. So when that sperm comes out, it's called a wet dream. Can I get your WhatsApp for me? Okay, WhatsApp. Okay, you can if you're on the platform, they send to the platform, the channel, you can put it here, inshallah. Barakallahu fikum. So I think those are the questions that okay, this one says that during his discussion with some people, he said when a brother is ready, he should open up to his mentor. What if the two parties fell in love without the knowledge of the one thing is that we only help ourselves. We're just trying to help ourselves to not to fall into sin and to do the right thing. So issue of mentor is just to guide somebody so that one will not fall into error. In a case you see someone you love, like we discussed issue of a person mentor the other time, you can go to that directly, it's not around. But the point is that which one is more preferable. So in a case you see someone you love, and the next thing, accordingly, you should not start journey of love without parents' consent. That's another issue. Because you just start and they don't agree. Then you say no, you can't do anything about it. So it's always good that we trust the process. Okay, these brothers can help us to solve the problem. So that the mentor issue is very important. It goes a long way to help you even understand the sister of the brother better than you just picking somebody anywhere. The person you pick might have some other thing you will never know. You will never know in the course of relating until marriage. That's where mentorship comes in at times. The mentor can go to any length through some people, third parties, and that sister, that brother, they can't, don't go there. So, but most people believe that the love, they were so attached, they feel that no, they can't stop us, it must be for life. No, it's not like that. So, if when they go into relationship and your mentor is not aware, then you still have to inform him. You will still have to look at the issue and see whether it's okay for both sides or not. So, but nobody can force anybody. We are only helping ourselves. What steps can be taken to persuade a long-term father to consent to his daughter's marriage, despite her and her family's readiness since she's still in school? I've mentioned before that dua, if you ask Allah, two is get those who can prevail over them through lobbies and the like. Those are the ways you can go about it. There's no part because some people just try to put that in, you can just go ahead. We are not to cause problem for the family. Family have to be reconciled. So going ahead, so maybe may cause other problems. So I think lobby prayers and patience will just help us to overcome such a kind of problem. So may Allah assist us and get us right. I think the source said, okay, parents didn't marry. Okay, if parents didn't marry according to Islamic code, they married following Yoruba tradition. What do I do regarding having a guardian during the process of both gender, knowing more about each other? And is the guardian a wali or wali, or how do we get a mentor? If I get the question right, that parents, when they did their own marriage, was during Yoruba traditions, all those methods. Now, in a case you want to do your own, if I get it right, having a guardian during the process. So the point is that, when you say guardian waliyu here, is that the girl, the lady, her father or our father's father, that's our grandfather, or our own son, in some cases, she was a divorcee or widow before. Those in that line are those who can marry her out. As for the male, if the zone wali is not very, very fundamental, he can marry on his own without the wali. The wali is basically strong when it comes to the woman. So in that case now, when some people don't have wali at all, maybe it's a Christian father or that, you now call wakil, maybe somebody will now stand to act as the father for you, maybe an imam or an ustaz or somebody. That's what you now do when it comes to the akudu nikah. The father may even be there as the father, but he will be there, but somebody will be as wakil for the siga of the nikah. Allah alam. If I get your question correct, the way you ask it. So that's on that. I think okay, Allah alam. Without knowledge, can a brother marry a sister with different ideology, e.g., Salafi sister? When you marry somebody that has different ideology, you should be ready to face the consequence. Ideology matters in marriage, because if you not get married, husband is in charge of the house. This is where he wants to go. Husband want to pray to Jews in Jama. There's no Tajud in Jama. Want to read the Quran, things like that some may not believe in. So it's going to be an issue at home. So it's good to go somebody. Those things should not be there ordinarily, but the way things are going today, it affects the level of our Islamic orientation. So I think it's better you go somebody who share you than just going. The home should be peaceful. But if ideologically you are different now, it's going to be a big issue for the family. So I will advise that you be careful of such kind of situations. Allah alam. So I think that's on that one. Okay. The other question here is that person says that how can one address the expectation of prostrating or bowing before a wife can be given out? Or that one, I think I overcome that very one in many circles. So it's an old school, people just feel they must go and bow for them. What we do in our days was that we don't go to the family alone. One, the sister will have done her homework at home. That's the basic thing there. You must have known that, these people, they don't kneel, that they don't bow. It's not because they don't show respect. We respect. Respect is not even about kneeling down or prostrating. The modern time is fading, really. It's fading. Only some few people will hold into that very one. So, but what to do is that when sister has to have established herself at home, that this thing we don't do, then the next thing is that well, if you have cause to go, don't go alone. Just go with like 2 or 3 brothers. Without anyone, you don't have a level of a kind of level of what do you call it, shame and things like that. They don't just want to do things publicly to be ashamed. So I think you don't go alone, it can help us, but you have to be steadfast that because some people you will not be able to cope, and they just when you go alone, they will not be able to cope. But in our own time, alhamdulillah, we're able to when we go together, we're able to solve the problem. So does one get a mentor? It's a function of the environment you find yourself, the organization you belong. If you're an MSS, you're an TMC, you're an NSFA, you're an Corib, you're an any organization you belong. So they're meant to have a kind of those who coordinate them. So that is one. Another one is that when you follow the social media, may be difficult for you to pick somebody because you don't know what they do behind the screen. But where you have somebody, you can just ask for guidance and see maybe somebody whose pedigree you can know something about. Then you can have a contact, consult with them, and that one to go a long way to assist in how to go about that, so that one can be guided and assisted. Allah Alam. What advice will you give to a man who is in courtship with a lady and at some point is not satisfied with her appearance and body structure, but her behavior is outstanding Islamically? Now you have not entered the business, you haven't started the business. You're already having some dislike. So when you have a dislike for somebody, don't go into that marriage because that dislike will not leave your brain, will not leave your head. So it's better you make those things clear to the person that have this issue with you, or use somebody who can approach her to talk about those things with her. So now give some time. If she's able to adjust, fine. If she's not adjusting, then it's your choice now, because if you go into it, it's not a boutique. You can't just pull out anyhow. If it's not, some things are not really, if you can manage, for example, this case I mentioned issue of with appearance, how see what you wear or what body structure. Body structure is not a problem now. Body structure is natural. The way she looks, maybe she's thin, she's fat, everything about her. Those things you want to appeal to you are not there. Then that's why that's what it's like. The issue of looking at the person you want to marry. When now look at her appearance, you don't like her, you don't like her. Don't just bother going to that kind of relationship. Don't manage her. Because that's how she is. You can't now pick her like that and not be complaining later. Because if you complain, we start when you marry her. You know that she's bad, but you just see that you won't just come into your mind. You're not so strong as a believer. So that's what I think just consider. If it's her appearance, maybe she way she dresses, it's not Islamically okay, then that one can be worked on, because maybe their background at school, family background could have influenced that. But if somebody is very good, they can engage her. With time, she can adjust in that respect. Allah. So I think that's the area there. I pray that Allah will assist and guide us. All right. I think for tonight, we have to pause here. The last question has been treated. So we want to appreciate us, inshallah, for coming. May Allah bless everyone and hold us abundantly. Inshallah, the next 2 weeks, we'll meet again. I say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.